Hey, it's Rocky. Welcome to Richer Soul. Today's guest is Jennifer Alembik, who lost 75 pounds and has kept it off. She shares how she did it and how we can too. Imagine it's 12 months from now, and you've achieved your major life goals. How does it feel to be in the best shape of your life? To wake up energized, excited about the day? To have great relationships and friends who support you and propel you forward? How does it feel to have an excess of money, to be able to make the choices you want? To be fearless and open to trying new adventures? Imagine being connected to the universe and it providing everything you desire. It's possible over time, and your past does not dictate your future. The only thing holding you back from this vision is you. It's time to take control of our thoughts and use them to our advantage. Welcome to Richer Soul, where we achieve our dreams and bring balance to health, wealth, relationships, time, and spirituality. If you have not had a chance to listen to episodes 1 through 9, I encourage you to go back and listen to the framework behind Richer Soul and how to create the life of your dreams. You can also find all the show notes for this episode at richersoul.com. While you're there, you can sign up for a monthly email where I share the best articles I read this month, let you know about upcoming episodes, and share a little wisdom. You can also listen to coaching calls under the Coaching Calls tab. I also share the most interesting articles I read every week on Facebook at facebook.com/Richer Soul. And there's also a Facebook group where you can ask questions and interact with other listeners. Today's quote: live the life of your dreams. Be brave enough to live the life of your dreams according to your vision and purpose instead of the expectations and opinions of others. Roy T. Bennett, The Light in the Heart. I'm going to harp on purpose because I see very few people are clear with their purpose in life and what they want. This is why we struggle and why making decisions is so hard. When we are clear in life for what we want and we can easily measure ourselves daily against our ideal life, it becomes so much quicker. We can quickly evaluate decisions to see if they fit with our goals. We're not distracted by offers and enticements. Finding your purpose takes time and effort. It may be a 6-month plan to come up with your life plan. A good life plan covers all the areas we talk about: health, wealth, relationships, spirituality, how you spend your time, and how you contribute back to society. Once you create the plan, the magic begins to happen, and you move towards your ideal life that you've chosen to live. You can also stop comparing yourselves to others because you're busy comparing yourself where you are today to where you'd like to be. Our guest today is Jennifer Alembik, who is a food addiction coach and a recovering food addict who has devoted her life to speaking, writing, and coaching on this debilitating disease. Jenny's intense passion to raise awareness and help others comes from her own personal struggle. She sought treatment at age 21, but sadly, it was ineffective. Finally, at the age of 45 years, she discovered her severe addiction was to sugar and flour, the addictive culprits of her insane obsession and compulsion to eat. Currently, she resides in Florida with her 3 children, maintaining a 75-pound weight loss and enjoying a full life obsession-free. Let's meet our guest. Welcome to Richer Soul, Jennifer Alembik. It's great to have you join us today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
And I'm excited for the conversation. So, we always start at the beginning. What was it like when you were growing up, and how much did your family and school teach you about money?
I don't think my school taught me anything. I paid a dime for a little thing box of milk when I was a youngin'. My parents, interesting. I think we came from I think I was raised in a scarcity mentality, even though I was raised in an upper middle class family. My father was a dentist. But his mentality, like he put himself through dental school and worked hard, and he was frugal, and he would drive an American car. He would never drive an imported car. And he was just careful with money. And my mother was more raised among wealth, and she was a little more flamboyant with money. But when they divorced, I was 4 when they separated. I think the whole scarcity and being very conscious of money and how much things cost, and we don't have the money tree in the backyard, all that kind of stuff. I grew up very cautious about money, and I was always afraid to ask for it. I remember that very vividly.
Was there something that happened that caused you to behave that way, or was it just kind of a feeling you had all along?
No, probably because when my parents split, my mother had to go to work. Back in those days, I mean, this was the early 70s. Divorce wasn't a big thing. And apparently, from what I understand, my mother was not allotted a lot of money. So raising 3 children is quite expensive, and my father was not free giving. They had a very bitter divorce. We went from a big house on the water to a small 2.5 bedroom apartment with my 2 brothers. And life shifted, life changed. And all of a sudden, money conscious was there. Let me also say this. I was also brought up my whole entire life around the 1%. I grew up where I went to middle school and high school was one of the wealthiest parts of the country. People lived on 5-acre estates. They went on vacations all the time. They had everything, luxury. I remember going to my girlfriend's house, and she lived in one of those 5-acre homes in Long Island, and her dad came home with an Excalibur just for fun. Being exposed to that and not being able to have the materialistic things that everybody else was acquiring, I was very present to the fact that money was lack in my family.
Did they seem happy? The other kids?
The other kids? Oh, it was a different time. I don't think it's so different now. Like, I don't remember them being entitled the way children are today. Did they seem happy? Yeah. I guess I never thought about it, but they appeared to be.
I just wonder, because a lot of times when you grow up with wealth, the parents aren't around. These days, it seems like they deal with that by giving money to the kids, but they don't give them their time. And so that creates a whole nother set of problems.
No, I remember the moms being very hands-on. Maybe not the dads because they were out at work, but the parents were definitely around. I don't recall any of the friends having parents that just kind of disappeared or traveled for 3 months and, didn't show up. There weren't nannies back then. Like, they had the maid in the pool house, but they didn't have nannies. Like, the parents were pretty prevalent and available, if I recall correctly.
So it was a different time, as you said.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Things were done differently then.
Mm-hmm. They had a different appreciation for money, I think. And it was a lot of old money, too. So they're different than people with new money. That resonates at all. I see the difference.
And I think that's very true. There's a big difference between old money and new money. And it's funny because these days you don't hear people as much talk about old money versus new money. That used to be the way it was. Because there were very divisional lines back then. Even if you made money, if you were new money versus old money, you still weren't accepted. Now it doesn't matter, right? You have money, you have money. It was a big divide in the past.
Yes. I grew up in that era.
Are you doing anything different to teach your kids about money?
Such great questions. And I love this money awareness. I think it was just, I'm going to be honest, about a year or 2 ago, where I really started to take a look at my attitude and my feelings towards money. And do I come from a scarcity or an abundance mindset? Like, what am I doing? And I am working on moving towards the abundance. And yes, I say things now to my children, like everything always works out. We always get what we need. And, money, I'm pretty fortunate. Like, money just seems to expand. Like, And I just make things happen. For instance, my daughter, my 18-year-old, I sent her on a very special trip it's a program called March of the Living. It's specifically for seniors in high school, for Jewish kids, and they spend a week in Poland and they spend a week in Israel. And it's quite expensive, but I made it happen. I was just like, you're going and we'll make it work. And I made it work. And I can't even tell you where the money came from, but I made it work. Like I've never had a problem making it show up. And I never felt like I've gone without. I don't know where that, and I'm working on that more and more, like to appreciate, like, wow, it's always there. I don't worry about like paying the bills. Like it's there. It's there. I think if I'm honest with you, it's me making the money. Me earning the money. I grew up in that era of, you get married, you have kids, you're the housewife. And for 13 years, I did not work, the traditional job. And so now being single and managing all the finances and learning how to deal with the house, mortgages, all that kind of stuff has been quite an education, and a good one I embraced, because it's very empowering to know what you have and what you don't, what you need, what you have to plan for. It's been a learning process.
And congratulations on doing that. And you are correct. When you have money, it is empowering. It gives you freedom. It gives you the ability to make choices and to do what you want to do. And so from that standpoint, it's awesome. It sounds like you were able to do something special for your daughter and you made it happen. Have you done anything to teach your kids about handling money?
I probably could do more. My thing is not indulging them, not spoiling them, because they're in this era of, new products, especially with technology. They're coming out like, it seems like every month there's a new thing. They always want something. It's ear pods. It's the new phone. It's the this. And I don't indulge, I won't engage. And I want them to learn appreciation for things that, so am I teaching them? I don't know if I'm teaching them about money. That's a great question. Well, my younger ones are 11 and 13. I don't do allowance because I feel like loading the dishwasher and cleaning the bathroom is part of the household. It's like part of being a part of the household. Like, shouldn't get paid to be part of the household. Maybe you have an opinion on that.
We gave our kids allowance, but we didn't give them allowances paying them to do household chores. Actually, we separated the two because we wanted them to have control of money and understand how to use money. Mm-hmm. And if it's tied to chores, you start putting all these money scripts into kids. And if they don't do the chores, you're fighting over money. And I wanted none of that. So we gave them money so that they could learn how to use money. But we also stopped buying them stuff. So in a sense, we were just giving them the money and letting them make the choice instead of us making the choices.
What age did you start that?
We started at 5.
Oh, boy. Okay, I'm behind. I'm really behind, Rocky.
You're never behind. It's always today. Everyone follows their own path, and that's fine. But it took away all of the issues of, hey, there's a new iPhone. Great, go buy it. What are you bugging me for?
Right.
You're free to do that. Now, as they got older, we offered them money to do certain chores so that they could earn more money to buy more stuff. So we have done that, but we put a lot of the money choices on them so that they understand what it means. And now that they have jobs and they're earning money and they're starting to see taxes come out and all of that, they're really becoming enlightened. And then as colleges come along, they're becoming enlightened at what it really means to pay for college because it's astronomical.
Yes. Believe me, I know. I just came back from my daughter's college orientation. She's going in, she starts in June in a couple of weeks for her summer, starting freshman year. interesting. My oldest, when she was 14, she wanted to go to the mall. She wanted to go shopping. And I decided to give her a little money lesson because, they have no concept of what things really cost and how fast money goes. So I gave her $200. Now, $200 to a 14-year-old sounds like a lot of money. But when you go into the store and you see how much jeans cost or shoes, a pair of shoes or sneakers, that money goes fast. So we were walking around and she realized when she started to look at prices and, okay, she's got this much money. How much could she buy? She got so careful and was very meticulous with her decision and her choices. And, I said, if you really want that, we'll have them hold it and we can continue shopping and we can always come back because you have to see if you have enough money. And that really was a turning point for her to become very conscious of what things cost and to not be so frivolous and just grab everything because you like it. But how much do you really like it? And that was one good lesson.
It is amazing how quickly kids change when it's their money versus your money.
Yes, absolutely.
So we're here today to talk about food addiction and weight loss. And you have a story, and I'd love for you to share it because you lost 75 pounds and you've kept it off for decades, I believe. Is that correct?
Over 5 years, not quite a decade.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So this is more recent then for you.
Yeah, I was heavy for decades.
Okay.
I was overweight for decades. And feeling miserable every day that I woke up. And it wasn't like miserable, like I walked around depressed. Oh, poor me. It was, I had an inner dialogue that I hated getting dressed in the morning because I knew nothing would fit or look the way that I wanted it to. And every day was a new mission to, am I going to eat okay? What am I going to have? Am I not going to binge? That inner dialogue was constant. But on the outside, other than my weight, you couldn't see the suffering that I was going through.
And a lot of times it is that inner game, right? It's the voices in our head that prevent us from the life we choose.
Absolutely. But, I wasn't, let's see, I got clean and sober at 21. And, like I said, my food journey started very early. My parents separated. I was only 4. And I would say I started to really pay attention and like food at the age of 6. And by 7, I remember being very self-conscious of my body. And unfortunately, I had a stepmother who was not positive in that way. She would make comments or she would give me a look if I went for an extra bite or if I went for another thing of sweets. So I was very self-conscious growing up. And I was chubby, maybe, 10, 15, 20 pounds overweight. And then when I reached puberty, it really started to bloom. And by the time I was a junior, I was like 5'4" and 180 pounds. And going through a tremendous amount in my personal life. And I use food to cope. I use food to comfort. I use food to calm me down and dull the pain. And that was habitual, and I was addicted, and I went decades through, and there were bouts. My very first diet was when I was in 10th grade going into 11th grade. At that point, I was 150. When I started the diet, I got down. After 2 months, I got down to like 127 and turned around, immediately started gaining and went up to 180. Now, let me preface that was a very difficult time in my personal life. A lot was going on, and I actually went to live with the family who took me in because things were so rough at home. And, I spent my 20s and 30s and a little bit of my 40s yo-yo dieting, constantly looking for the magic pill, constantly wondering if something was wrong with me. Maybe I have a thyroid issue. My metabolism is broken. I made all sorts of excuses for why I was the way I was or the size that I was. But I really was unaware and ignorant of just how much I was eating until maybe the last 10 years. Well, no, even before that, like the binging just got so bad and I was eating all the time. I mean, you got to eat a lot of food to be that overweight on a daily basis, day in and day out. And I could start a diet. I never would get to goal weight. And every time I kept dieting up. Like my baseline weight would just go higher and higher. And towards the end, I was like, I couldn't stay. I was like swimming around 198. And it was scary. I mean, I was like, I have got to do something. And then a real life event happened. And it was my 45th birthday. And I was miserable. Rocky, I was miserable. And I woke up that day and I got on my knees and I asked for help. And I knew that, I was 45. I was miserable. I was in a loveless marriage. And I knew that I couldn't go on. And I just knew that if I didn't get my food under control, that I was wasting my life. That my life was completely passing me by. My 20s, my 30s went by. And yes, I had children and I did a lot of things, but I wasn't growing as a human being. I wasn't fulfilled and I wasn't accomplishing things where I had so much potential. I mean, I have a master's, I had children, there was so much, but I just really felt like I veered off the path that I was meant to be on and that God wanted me on and that my soul was meant to be on. So I knew that it started with the food and I sought help and I learned for the first time. Now, I went to treatment when I was 21 and nobody ever told me that I had an allergy to sugar and flour. And when I went to treatment, they did talk about sugar and they gave us a food plan that took us off sugar, but you could still have flour. So eventually, with the bread and certain things that were allowed, I just eventually started getting bigger and then eventually started eating the sugar again. And when I was 45 and sought help, I heard, oh my God, I have an allergy to sugar and flour. That those two substances that are in almost everything, I mean, all processed foods, that if I stopped eating that, I could find peace, I could get to a right-sized body, and I could uncover the things that I was eating and using over. And that's what the last 5 years, over 5 years, that's what the journey has been about. Since I learned that I can't safely eat sugar and flour without wanting to binge, without wanting more, and without going into full-blown addiction again.
So when you say allergy to flour and sugar, what do you mean by allergy?
Yeah, great question. I mean, when I physically put a sugar product or a flour product in my mouth, it just chemical reactions start happening and I want more. My brain says, give me more. And I want more. It sets up a physical allergy followed by a mental obsession. And, we talk about food addiction has a huge spectrum. But I deal with the people that are towards the end of the spectrum, that there's a group of us just like me that they can't stop eating when they put food in their mouth. And this'll, maybe somebody in your audience may resonate. Like, we'll fast all day till 4:00. We'll have nothing and we're going to be like, we're going to be good and we're going to start our diet and we're going to be great. And then by 4:00, The minute we put a piece of food in our mouth, we are starving and we are eating until we are just bursting. We're so full. The one bite is too many and 1,000's never enough. That's how it is for a food addict. It's just like an addict or an alcoholic. They just want more.
So how did you break this habit?
I got a food plan. And just like I liked what in your philosophy is, you've got to plan. If you're to get your finances in order and you're going to plan for your future, you've got to plan. And that was always something that I failed, but that's what I learned is that I needed to have a plan. I needed to know what foods were safe for me to eat. I needed to have a healthy food plan, well balanced. I personally eat 3 meals a day. I don't eat anything in between. And I just don't eat sugar and flour. So I eat real supermarket food. I go and I buy my vegetables and my fruit and my proteins and my grains, and I cook. And I have a well-balanced meal. And I used to get sick all the time. I was on a Z-Pack at least 2-3 times a year. And I haven't, knock wood, I haven't been on a medicine in years. I haven't gotten sick. I was not suffering from diabetes yet. I was not having cholesterol issues yet or any heart issues yet. But many of my clients, I've gotten them off medications because they start eating healthy. So that's a huge plus for people who are at the end of the cycle or suffering physically from food.
It's funny because all of the medicines, the first line for the medicines is following diet and exercise. When you look at the diabetes pills, it says this is good after you try diet and exercise. Thing is, nobody wants to try diet and exercise. That takes work.
I think diabetes, we have a huge problem here in the country and it's growing worldwide, diabetes. It's just the epitome is you hear about all these diabetics getting their toes cut off, getting limbs cut off, and all because they're not willing to give up the food. It blows my mind. I don't understand how you could go there, but it's just, that's how powerful sugar addiction is and food addiction is.
You mentioned though that you can eat fruit, which also has sugar, but for some reason the fruit doesn't trigger you?
No, it does not. And I'll tell you why. And here's the science. Fruit has fiber in it. So if you put your hands together, it's like a grid or like, one of those fences. It's like a basket weave. That's what, think about that when you think fruit has fiber. So when it naturally breaks down into your system, it breaks down in a way that in a slow way, it breaks down that your body can absorb the sugar coming in. Very different from eating a donut. That is pure sugar and will go straight in, and your insulin just can't break that down so fast. So that's where the problem is. So fruit is fine in a healthy quantity. Eating a watermelon or eating a full cantaloupe might be an issue. But, everything also, food addicts have issues with quantity. So, we have to be careful with how much we eat. Not only what we put in our mouth, but how much. Because certainly in this society, we have been supersizing meals for a very long time, and people are just skewed as to what is a healthy portion size. So I work with my clients to understand what a healthy portion size is. And truly, they love the food plan and they really love to learn their food. I mean, our taste buds, when you're eating so much sugar and flour or eating a lot of processed foods that are rich in sauces and sugar and all that stuff, your taste buds go dead. Like you need more and more to really taste it. And we're addicted to salt and fried foods and high fats. So when I take a client and we really clean up their food to keep it as basic and raw and yummy from the earth as possible, they just really learn to enjoy food.
One of the things that I hear, and I think it's more so amongst the younger generation, is none of them know how to cook.
Yeah, that is probably very true because we've become a society. You know, I read a blog today from Psychology Today that came out and said sugar's been around they were debating whether sugar was addictive or not. And they said, sugar's been around forever. So we don't understand why people are having an issue with it now. And, you know, my rebuttal to that is because it's so accessible. You didn't have a McDonald's every other 3 feet or a fast food restaurant every other 3 feet. You didn't have a CVS on every single corner and a Walgreens and a 7-Eleven, which are crack dens for food addicts. And it's become so, we have gotten so creative with food and competitive with food, and restaurants is so chic and it's all the rage. This wasn't going on 20, 30 years ago. This is what has become. So that is why there's just this deluge of obesity in our country. Never mind, on top of that, the sedentary lifestyle that we've acquired here with computers and kids sitting all day and then coming home and sitting. And it's such a combination. It's like the perfect storm between how sugar is just in everything. And, you know, you're dealing with the food industry and the diet industry. You're talking multi-million dollars, billions of dollars here to push products. So you've got the food industry pushing how delicious and healthy and fun and wonderful food is. And then you have the diet industry pushing how amazing this diet product is and how good you're going to feel when you're thin. And you just want to feel good, but they're so contradictory. They don't, you know, the consumer is stuck in the middle, yo-yo dieting, and they are so dazed and confused as to what to eat. And that's how my clients come to me. They have no idea anymore what they should eat, what they shouldn't eat, what's good for you, what's not good for you. Should they do keto? Shouldn't they do keto? Should they go back on Weight Watchers? That didn't really work. It worked for a while. I mean, we're just a mess as a society as far as really what to eat and how to eat and when to eat. Now dinner's at 9:00 at night. Like, that's not healthy. Or, you know, I know the Europeans eat very late, and I lived in Argentina for 1.5 years, and the South Americans eat very late as well. But the South Americans don't have obesity issues like we do here in America and India and China.
And that's very true, because when I was growing up, McDonald's was a treat. It wasn't dinner every night. And soda was not free refills, nor were, you know, I mean, you'd get orange juice at breakfast and it would be this tiny little cup, like 4 or 6 ounces. It wouldn't be, you know, 22-ounce glass with just loaded up as much as you want. So I think from that standpoint, it has dramatically changed. And I know when my kids were little, we significantly limited their juice intake because that was nothing but pure sugar for them. You could have it occasionally, and a lot of times we'd even cut it with water, just so that you could have something, but it wasn't too much. And we never gave them soda as kids. That was a rarity versus just having it all the time nowadays, I guess. So what is good food? What do you tell your clients? Like, what should they be eating?
Yeah, stay away from bags, boxes, cans. It's really that simple. Stay away from bags, boxes, and cans, because whatever is in there is processed. So go get your fresh vegetables, buy fresh meat, not pre-cooked. Back to your thing with cooking. You know, we've become a society where we've gone from, you know, a mom being at home to most parents are working and they don't want to cook and they don't have time to cook. So eating out, like you said, was a treat when I was a kid. And now it's the standard for families. They are just eating out and they're lucky if they have 2 meals a week, dinner home. It's just crazy. So what should they eat? Fresh foods, fresh vegetables, fresh protein, make some fresh rice, oatmeal, sweet potato, healthy things. But part of the thing is you've got to be invested, like your principles with finances. It doesn't just happen. You've got to take the time. I teach my clients this. I train them, like, it doesn't take that long to go food shopping, to come home and prep some food for the week. That's what I teach, and they learn to like it. And it's just 1,000 times healthier for you, but you've got to be invested in your health. You've got to be invested in wanting better for yourself. You've got to be willing. And unless somebody, I find the clients that come to me, unless they're in pain physically or emotionally, they're not signing up for that. They want somebody to make the food for them. That's where you got all those, Slim Fast diets and Jenny Craig, and people want to buy the meals. But have you ever tasted them? They're disgusting.
I have not, but it would not surprise me. And it also shows why people don't stick to it, because if you're eating horrible food, you don't want to keep eating it. You want to eat something that tastes good.
Absolutely. But if you're cooking your own food, you really do. It really, when you get through it, you had a quote at the end of your about page about change. And it said, getting started is the hardest part. And Robin Sharma talks about change. And his quote is, change is hard at first, it's messy in the middle, and it's gorgeous at the end. And that's why having a coach or support, whether you hire a coach or not, you must have support when you're completely changing your diet and your way of living, because it is hard at first and there's lots of changes. And then it's messy in the middle, because all of a sudden you start feeling and you're doing things and feelings are coming up and you're realizing how you used to use the food. But then you get to this place of, wow, your clothes start fitting. You feel so good getting up in the morning. You're sleeping better. You're breathing better. You're walking easier. I mean, everything starts to improve, when you're losing weight. And then it becomes, wow, I love this feeling. How do I maintain it? And that's what I also work on in my program, is sustaining this. How do we sustain this feeling and feeling good? And that's where we work on the mindset, so there's levels to health. Isn't just about eating good or eating healthy, putting down the high processed foods. It is about changing your mindset about health. What does that mean? How are you showing up in your life? How do you want to proceed with your life? What have you been lacking or not participating in because of your weight? I'm working with a gal now. She's in her late 40s. She's never been married. She has no children, and she has been morbidly obese her complete adult life. And she is just realizing now, as we're working together, how she really her life got so small, and food was her best friend, her lover, her confidant. And now she's starting to feel, and she's also, she's lost 60 pounds so far, and she was over 350. And she is just realizing, wow, the things that she wants to do in life that she just numbed out and wasn't dealing with, because she was just living day to day, rolling through life, but with no zest or joie de vivre for life. And, I'm all about, yes, I'm about helping people get weight off and sustain a healthy diet for themselves. But it's all about finding what lights you up, finding what you're really passionate about, and living your best life. That's what I want from my clients ultimately. And it must start with my clients with the food, because if you're 60, 70, 80 pounds overweight, or if food addiction is not only about weight, it is specifically about how you think, obsess, and feel about your body and weight. So you could be 10 pounds overweight and be a serious food addict who is weighing herself or himself 10 times a day, and you read every label and you're obsessed with looking for the next new diet, new cookbook, new exercise. I mean, it's really about mentality. So, I offer people freedom if they want it. Freedom from that crazy obsessiveness, and freedom from the weight bondage, and freedom from your health. Fight for your health.
We will be back with our guest Jennifer in a moment. Making big changes in life is sometimes hard. Having someone to help you through the change and provide feedback and accountability helps to bring about the change faster, and also allows you to break through the setbacks and obstacles that occur. My focus is on coaching small business owners to ensure that profit comes first in their business and using the profit as a fuel to create the life you've always dreamed of. It's bringing harmony to our health, our wealth, our time, our relationships, and the connection to the universe. I'm not the expert in all these areas. However, I am the expert in helping you to focus on creating profit and using it to ensure you are in alignment with your goals. My clients are able to take massive action to achieve the lifestyles they want to live. If you are not, then it's time to get help and make it happen. Let's see if we're a good fit. It's Rocky@richersoul.com, and an email will start off the conversation where we can schedule a no-obligation phone chat to see if we're a good fit. Now, let's get back to our amazing conversation with Jennifer. Absolutely. And we've both done it. You've lost 75 pounds and kept it off. I've lost 50 pounds and kept it off for a long time now.
Yeah. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
It's about changing your lifestyle, and the fuel you put in your body has to be good, or your body shows up with, in a not so good place. And it does, when you can fix one part of your life, it spills over and starts fixing other parts of your life. So people who lose weight also start to get more money. People who, figure out their money start to lose weight. All of these things are tied together because the principles of success are the same in all of them. And once you learn how to have success and you start to have the confidence from it, it starts spilling over into other parts of your life. And I will tell you, we have very little processed food in our house. Nothing comes out of boxes and bags and the like. For the most part, I'm very strict on my vegetables. We will eat meat in a variety of different ways that we cook it. But rarely does something come out of a pre-prepared state. And it is not that hard to cook. And I think people have that struggle of, oh, this is difficult. It really is not. And I was thinking, coming into this interview, there are all of these services now that will actually send you the ingredients to make a meal, and you just do the final step. So they send you the chicken and all the spices and everything's bagged up and ready. You just cook it. And I think that's a great way to learn how to cook. Have somebody send it all to you. And once you start to learn how to cook, you can then just go to the store and buy the chicken and all the spices, because now you see how it kind of goes together. And I know there's a ton of these different services that are available for you. So it also makes it easy to get started, because now you don't have to think. It's delivered for you. They tell you what to do. They give you quantity control in the sense that they send you, X amount for 2 or 4 or however many people you are. And it gets you going on that process. So it's just another way to kind of get down and learn how to cook and learn how to get started on that. And you can, I'm sure they must show calories and all of the breakdowns so you can see what you're eating is healthy.
When you're eating healthy, you don't need to count calories, bottom line. I like those services and they're good, but they tend to be very costly over a length of time. And I'm all about personal responsibility. Like having somebody ship the stuff to you. It's like, I agree with you that would be a good start for somebody who really knew nothing. But it really is so simple to cook. You need a baking dish, a baking pan, a steamer, something to boil water and steam your vegetables, or, a microwave will do. I mean, I know a woman who cooked out of her toaster, whatever it takes. I mean, it's really not that hard, but people have to take the onus. They have to be willing to say, I'm going to be responsible and do this. You can't have people delivering your meals all the time because, one thing that I had to learn in my abstinence is I am responsible solely for my food, and I can't leave that responsibility to anybody else. For example, if I choose to go out with people to a restaurant for dinner, I don't trust just by their word that, you'll be able to eat there, no problem. Because there's a lot of restaurants that won't accommodate or don't just simply steam vegetables or, grill their food. Or sometimes you can't even get a salad with lettuce, tomato, and cucumber. I mean, it's just amazing. You think that's crazy, but it's true. So I will call the restaurant, or I'll go online and look at their menu. And if I see something that if there's nothing there, then I'll call them and see. So I'm responsible. I don't have the freedom or the luxury to fly by the seat of my pants and just be like, don't worry, we'll find a restaurant on the road. It'll be fine. Because I've been in those situations and it's not fine. So I always prepare.
That was one of the things when I was losing the weight, I had to figure out where I could eat on the go. And I figured that out. What restaurants work, what restaurants don't. It was funny because one of the things that didn't work, even when somewhat done right, was Chinese. So we have a local place that will actually cook in front of you. It's like you give them the ingredients and they cook in front of you. So I would give them the chicken, I'd give them the broccoli, and I'd gain weight. And yet when I took that same chicken and broccoli at home and cooked it, I didn't have the problem. So I knew I couldn't go there anymore. I found the types of places that I could eat something that I enjoyed. And that's the key. You've got to enjoy what you're eating. If you're going, like, diets and budgets suck, except when they're great, right? When you have a budget that allows you to live life on your terms, you love your budget. When you have food that you love, it's not hard to stay on the diet. But I had to take time to figure out where can I eat and what can I eat when I am there. And there are ways to navigate, as you said, with a little bit of intention at restaurants. And these days, they are so much more accommodating than they've ever been because of allergies. You just go in and tell them I have allergies. I'm allergic to all this stuff. They'll figure out how to bring you a grilled piece of meat and steamed vegetables.
Yeah, but you got to be specific. I'm going to give you a story. First of all, I love that you mentioned that when you went to this restaurant and you even brought it to them, you still gained weight. Because this is when I work with my clients, I suggest for the first 30 days, if they can, do not eat out. Because even in the best intentions of restaurants, you just order a grilled piece of chicken, they pour tons of oil on that grill to heat it up and get it going. And it is just amazing. And sometimes my clients have to go and test it out for themselves. And then they realize at the end of the week, when they weigh themselves, or the end of the month, that they didn't lose as much weight as when they eat at home. So it's always better to eat at home. But sure, everybody can eat out and enjoy.
And that's another thing. I track my money, right? So I use Quicken, and I know where I am at all the time. I look at my spending and so forth. Not only do I track my weight, I track my measurements. Every week I measure in, and I take multiple measurement points. And I've done it for years now. So I can look and see, how is my body changing? Did I gain a centimeter? Did I lose a centimeter? What is that trend, and what does it look like? So I always know when I'm at upper limits and that I need to do something. And every day I will weigh in. So I know, hey, this is what happened. What did I do yesterday to cause this? Oh, that's what I did. Oh, when I do this, I get this result. So I'm constantly getting feedback, and I'm constantly measuring and monitoring.
Right. I want to point something out here, because you are capable of doing that. But the clients that I work with, the ones that come to me, I don't have them weighing in every week initially until they get down to goal. And I don't have them measuring. And I'll tell you why, because we're addicts. And that number on that scale will dictate our mood. And it will, if it's up, we are miserable. If it's down, we think we have license to eat. So we're very triggered by the scale and the numbers. So, I just wanted to point that out, that not everybody can have that type of a freedom as you do to check in and have those check-in points. I do different check-in points with them. But if they're eating right, then they don't have to worry. The weight comes off, no problem.
And so you did mention that before. What is a healthy portion?
Usually protein is around 4 ounces. I've seen some people use food plans with 3 ounces. That is for females. For males, it's 6 ounces of protein. Like if you're talking a piece of chicken or a piece of steak. I know weight. So it usually is, if you have to eyeball it, it is about a fist size of chicken, which if you look at your fist, if you put your fist, it's not very big. And think about what you're getting when you go into a restaurant. It's like so much bigger. Greens, vegetables are usually, I do it by weight. So it's like 6 ounces is a healthy portion size for vegetables. But people think vegetables, wow, I can eat huge volumes. But for a food addict, you got to be careful because we're addicted to volume. We're addicted to quantities. The more we shove in our mouth and feel that full feeling, that's where we want to go. So we walk very carefully and we're very methodical about how we're eating, what we're eating, and when we're eating so that we're not triggering certain behaviors.
How do you prevent people from eating? Because that's literally what this comes down to.
I can't, but I have no control over what somebody else does. But I can offer tremendous amount of support. I've had clients, I offer with my program Voxer. So for 24/7, you can Voxer me. And let's say, somebody is having a really rough day and it's 3:00 in the afternoon, which most people want to eat. Most people, 3:00, 4:00, they're having a snack. And they really want to eat something. They'll Voxer me and say, I'm starving, I'm hungry. And honestly, more than 90% of the time, they're not starving. They just had lunch. It's something's going on, or they're uncomfortable, or it's a habit and they're so used to reaching for something. So there's lots of different ways, but having support and learning when the food is down, how you behave and how you react to certain things, you realize you're not hungry. It's not about the food. And food is just, we eat to live. But in our culture, people live to eat. And I love my food. Don't get me wrong. I look forward to every meal I eat. I enjoy it immensely. But because I weigh and measure my food and I don't eat out of boxes, bags, and cans, and I don't eat sugar and flour, it has allowed me the freedom to live a life because I'm no longer obsessed with my body and my weight and what I'm going to eat and when I'm going to eat and where am I going to get it? Am I going to have enough stash to get me through the night? Am I, craziness, like the addiction and the mentality and what goes on in an addict's brain, it's exhausting. And I no longer have that. And I'm so grateful for that every day. But it takes work. I plan. I don't fly by the seat of my pants. I don't wake up and go, oh, what am I going to eat today? I write down my food every night. Like you track your money, I track my food.
I somewhat track my food. When I was losing weight, I was tracking it much more so. Now I don't have to track it so much. I have a general idea. And as long as I stay within the general idea, it's fine. Every so often things get out of control and then you see the numbers go up and then you pull it back in again and you watch it and see it. But when there are also times when it's time to celebrate and I go celebrate And I don't worry about it on those days. I don't have guilt with celebrations. There are times to do that, but it all has to be in balance. Everything needs to be.
Yeah, we all deserve to celebrate, but I love how we think celebration equals food. It should enjoy an indulgence and something sweet usually, but we indulge. Let's just say that celebration equals an indulgence. So that's wonderful. And most people, Rocky, can do that, but there are a group of us that are called addicts that cannot take a day off. It's, like this, there's a lot of trainers out there and dietitians and some people let Sunday be your cheat day. Would you ever say that to a heroin addict? Would you ever say that to a cocaine addict? Let Sunday be your day. Go to church and then do a few lines. Hell no, because we know that where it's going to lead. And it's the same thing for me. I can't take Sunday or my birthday or, Christmas or Hanukkah or anything. I don't have that luxury because when I put it in, I'm off and running and I can gain 20 pounds in a week. 8 days, 20 pounds, 10 days, 20 pounds. That's insane. But that's addiction. And I'm not proud of it. And the reason there's so much shame around food addiction, so much shame around addiction, period, but especially food. I was on the phone with a prospective client 2 days ago and he told me what he was eating and I get it, and he was embarrassed to say it. And he was like, I'm embarrassed to say this. I was like, trust me, I've heard it all. The amount of food that an addict can eat is mind blowing and how fast they can gain weight. So there is these group of people that we don't have the luxury you do. We can't just safely go out and do that. And they need to know that that's okay and that there is a solution and there is a way. And that's really my message, Rocky, is that, if you're like me and you just can't have one bite and be okay, that you can find another way and enjoy your life and have freedom and be in a right-sized body.
There is always a way if you are willing to look and find it and be intentional. And that applies in every part of life. And that's what you have to do. If you want to control this, you need to be intentional.
100%.
Is there anything else you wanted to share on the subject of food addiction, but didn't get a chance to?
Yes, thank you. You've got to get support. I'm in a lot of food addiction groups and weight loss groups on Facebook, and I hear people and they're just unsuccessful and they are beating themselves up day in and day out, and it just makes the food worse. And they're getting bigger and bigger and they can't stop because they're unwilling to get help. You've got to find a support system or a group. And part of these Facebook groups, the problem with them is there are a lot of, we know how hard it is, hang in there. You've got to get with a group of people that are having success, that are living the way that you want to live. Hanging out with a group of people that are all struggling is not going to pull you up and out of this hole. So please get help. That is the best thing you can do. I offer a great webinar. It's called foodfreedom11.com. It'll give you some tips on some things to start with. And like I said, there's a tremendous amount of shame around this disease. So I hope that your listeners will have a lot of compassion or be more aware that obese people who are morbidly obese, some of them can't help their situation. They don't know where to go. They don't even know what's really wrong, or, they haven't found that magic pill, and a magic pill does not exist. And the best way that I can help is to help them get off sugar and flour. And if they choose to go a different route after that, that's up to them. But, we need to have compassion and understanding that food addiction is real. And I think the obesity crisis and the diabetic crisis in this country and growing in India and China and around the world is is just evidence. It's clear evidence that we have a serious problem.
That is so true. And I stay off of sugar and flour as much as I can. I'll have bread occasionally, but it's more of a treat than a normal part of my daily living because I realize it's going to put the weight on. I don't have an addiction, but it's going to put the weight on. It doesn't matter. And so we need to control these types of things. Based on our conversation, what's one action step people can take this week to move forward on their diets?
You've got to plan. Plan what you're going to eat the night before, or take time if you're really serious about getting started. And my webinar, foodfreedom11.com, talks about this. You've got to detox your environment. You've got to get rid of the things in the house that are going to trigger you. And a lot of moms love to come quick back to me and say, but I have children. I have children too. So get a special drawer or something, a special shelf where you could put the stuff so you don't have to see it, but you've got to detox your environment and you've got to plan. You've got to decide what you're going to eat, when you're going to eat, and you just can't fly by the seat of your pants if you really want to start losing weight. So that is the first thing I would do. And find support. Get somebody to help you, to work with you, to really start the change, because as we agree, change is hard at first, and then it gets messy in the middle, but it is gorgeous in the end.
And you know what? There's no reason your kids can't eat properly.
Yeah.
There's not. There's no reason that your kids can't eat normal, healthy food instead of stuff out of boxes and cans and bags. And you need to teach them. And you teach them by leading. So that's not really a good excuse.
Believe me, I'm among the moms raising children and they don't want to deal with it. I can't tell you how many moms say, my kid only eats chicken nuggets and macaroni and cheese and pizza. Like, that is a staple diet here where I live. And that's unfortunate.
And where did the kid learn to eat that?
I agree with you 100%. 100%. I am on board with you. But you got to start somewhere. So I work with the mom first, if she's, or the dad who's looking to lose and get healthy. And it does infiltrate into the family. I see that all the time with my clients, how they're taking care of themselves and their own meals. And then all of a sudden the family's asking, can I have some of that? And it really does infiltrate. So it's fabulous.
It does. It does. It's time to learn the secrets of life. What's your secret to living an abundant life?
I love my morning routine, and it really sets my day and my mindset to make the most of every day. So I meditate every morning for 30 minutes. And when I get out of bed, I say, good morning, God. And I'm so excited and I can't wait to see what's going to happen today. And I had to practice that and I had to work on that and shift my attitude, my mindset. But it really just has seeped and made my day and me more positive. And when you raise your vibration and you raise that inner joy, just life is just so wonderful and things just come. I hope that answered your question.
It did, and it's very true. I have a morning routine too, and I feel bad for people who roll out of bed and just get right on that hamster wheel. You need to take the time in the morning to get your day going in the right direction. And when you put that time up front, everything else seems to work out well.
Yep.
What did you learn later in life that you wished you would have learned sooner?
That I could change my mindset and my thoughts. I did not learn that until I was an adult. I learned that in my 30s after a book I read that was so impactful, and it blew my mind. It blew my mind. It was a great story. I read the book, The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari by Robin Sharma. I was probably close to 35, and he was teaching me that, my thoughts create my feelings, which create my actions. And I just couldn't grasp that. And one day I was in the kitchen, I was loading the dishwasher, and I was really pissed at my husband at the time. And I'm jamming plates into the dishwasher. And I caught myself in mid-action and I said, whoa, what is going on here? What are you thinking that is causing this behavior and this reaction? And that's when I connected the dots, which I never knew. And had I learned that at a young age, I think the trajectory of my life would have been different. I may not have been really good about teaching my kids about finances and money, which I will get on, but I talk to them all the time about what you think is what will be. And I talk to them about mindset all the time.
And that's why you need the morning routine to get yourself, clean it out, and be ready to roll. So they all go together.
Yes. Yes.
What's one piece of advice you would give your younger self?
Stop worrying about what other people think. That it's totally, I don't know why we do that, but as we're growing up, young teenagers, we're so concerned about what our peers think. And did we say the right thing? Did we wear the right thing? And as I get older, I care less and less. And I wish I was able to really, at a younger age, let that all go.
And that is a big part of it. It's funny because my kids had to spend their own money, they learned the value and they didn't worry about clothes and they didn't care what other people thought because they're like, I have money, I have my stuff, I can do what I want. And it changed the way that they don't care what other people think. It's worked out well.
That's great. Yeah, because they have integrity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
If people would like to find you and connect, and if there's somebody who struggles with weight and needs help, what's the best way for them to do that?
They can find me on Facebook and Instagram. Go to Jennifer Alembik Coaching. You can look me up both places, follow me. And I have a great webinar that will start you off on the right foot of how to start getting your food together and your health together. It's less than 20 minutes of a webinar. It's called Food Freedom 11, the number 11, 11.com. Or you can go to my website, jenniferalembik.com.
And thank you for sharing that. And I will also put that into the show notes so that people can find you easily. Thank you so much for joining us and for sharing your wisdom today.
Thank you, Rocky. It was really a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much.
In 2 weeks, we're going to have another episode on food, and this one is with Dr. LaValle, who is going to explain the science behind why we have food addictions, as well as explaining our microbiome. It was a very interesting conversation. Stay tuned for the deeper dive into this subject. We need to be intentional in every area of life: our money, our food, our health, our relationships, and everything else. Gaining weight, like many things in life, happens slowly, and we don't even notice it sometimes. And then we wake up and realize this is not what I wanted to be. Everything is changeable, but it takes effort and perseverance. Being on a diet is a lifelong choice, so make sure you love your diet. I know I love mine. That's the key to continued success. Having success in one area of life also spills over into other areas of life. Success begets success. This week's action step is to plan out your diet and get rid of those items that tempt you. We're pretty good at making the right choices in the supermarket, so we don't have to make the choices in the kitchen. The more you eat at home and stay to natural products, the faster and easier it will be to hit and maintain your goal weight. If you need help, find the plan that works best for you. You can check out Jennifer's sites. They're in the show notes. If you're still listening, you must have liked this episode, so please share it with a few friends. It can start a great conversation, and I'd appreciate it. You can also connect with me on Facebook. There's both a Facebook page and a Facebook group for Richer Soul. What's preventing you from moving forward, and who are you putting on your team to help you build the life you deserve? Taking no action creates a far worse outcome in life than trying something and failing. Can I help you achieve your goals through coaching and accountability? Just email me. We can start with a short chat to see if we're a good fit for coaching. For many people, one session allows them to take a giant leap forward towards their dreams. You can reach me at rocky@richersoul.com. I'd love to hear how you're doing and how the information I shared has helped. Thanks for listening. Have an abundant week.